everyone. Welcome to another conversation on the Voice of the Marketeer, wherever you're watching or listening to this from. My guest today is a law student turned marketeer, joining us all the way from Tel Aviv, Israel. Meet Shiri, the head of marketing at TaTiO, a company rewriting the rules of hiring with virtual job simulations, empowering businesses to evaluate candidates based on real life task assessments rather than just resumes. Now, Shiri has an impressive decade of B2B experience under her belt, more specifically in brand building, go to market strategies, and growth hacking. She's all about seeing the big picture, moving fast, and never settling for less than awesome. She has also built some extraordinary teams with A players, thanks to her knack for understanding what makes people tick. She's a real problem solving ninja, but what I really like about her is her energy. Hey, Shiri, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Shiri, let's first probably just go down memory lane a little bit and trace back to where and how you journeyed into marketing from being a law student, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's probably quite a unique path. I am a lawyer, not just a law student. I interned for the Supreme Court. I worked for the Justice Department. I worked in a competition and antitrust law, big law firm in Israel. So I spent quite a few years doing that. And I actually really loved it. But I also have a background in media. I was a producer and an editor and a reporter for a while. So I kind of know the media world a little bit. And I also used to be a sociologist. I have a master's in sociology. So the whole human department, understanding people, understanding audiences, research methodologies, everything that has something to do with really trying to understand what makes people tick, that used to be my expertise before I was even a lawyer. So when my law firm decided that it's time to build their digital presence, to do rebranding, the website, to try to see how we're going to do social and crazy stuff like videos and things that law firms usually don't do, they came to me because I was the closest thing they had. And so for quite a while there, I was both a lawyer in the competition department and the head of marketing for the law firm, which was, let's say exhausting is, I think, the most accurate word for it. But that was my first steps into marketing, into really, building a brand and doing all of those first steps that a marketer goes through in their career, I guess. So yeah, law firm. That's my step one.
That sounds like quite a hustle of a start, Shiri. Now, just maybe talking about Israel itself, right? I think from all that I've read and I've spoken to fellow marketeers there, it is an interesting ground for a marketing executive, one that is shaped by more unique factors and advantages that honestly cannot be replicated, right? Now, in tech terms specifically, I personally think Israel's growth is prodigious and its moat is quite wide. What specific insights have you gained from your experience here that you believe other marketeers could benefit from?
Well, I think that if we talk about the uniqueness of Israel in this context, it's a very small country, and Tel Aviv is even smaller. And I think that one of our biggest advantages is that we have a very relatively tight community of entrepreneurs and marketers and everybody in the high tech world. And there is this really beautiful culture here of sharing knowledge, sharing experience, even meetups, a lot of meetups of just like getting together and thinking things through. And so I would say that one of the things, because it's not the only thing that makes Tel Aviv and Israel really special in that sense, is the ability to grow together. And to see every company's success as kind of like a collective success. And I've been really, I've been taking advantage of that. I have been asking for help when I needed it from people that have a lot more experience than I do in different fields, and especially since my expertise is B2B early stage. So I go into companies at the very beginning, I build the go-to-market, and that sometimes makes me go into new fields that I've never touched before. because, let's say the first company I worked for after my experience as a marketer for a law firm did completely different things. And so my experience before that wasn't necessarily relevant. And the ability of this community to support me, for me to be able to come and ask for help and to try to understand how to do things at the beginning, how to build a community, how to do, I don't know, rebranding processes, just to reach out for help at the first, my first steps, it was really, really helpful. So it helps all of us here just grow really fast and move really fast when we need to.
That sounds very collaborative, and that's kind of what I've also heard. So you confirmed my theory on that. Now, you've also collaborated very closely with diverse C-level leaders in the recent times, and I think you've also witnessed firsthand the boardroom dynamics to some extent. Now, tell me what skills and qualities have helped you build and maintain that trust and influence which is needed really among top executives in all of these various organizations.
Well, it's a bit, I don't know how it's like for other people, so I'm just going to speak for myself. But in my case, I have a bit of a unique experience. I worked for a VC before. I was chief of staff for a very big VC called JVP, Jerusalem Venture Partners. I worked closely with the managing partner there, Erel Margalit, who is really one of the, I think, the most known characters in Israel in that world. So that and my experience as a lawyer in big law, I feel that you work with people who are usually in these rooms for enough time, and that kind of like gives you a sense of what needs to happen in those rooms and how to prepare for those rooms. And so that helped me really, have this extra insights as head of marketing and as a person working closely with my CEOs to be able to help them when needed. But I also, I was really fortunate to work with really amazing CEOs who were really good at what they did. So I'd like to take all the credit, but it's not me, it's them.
Tell me if there is one thing that some of these CEOs have taught you over time and that you've taken into your future or current marketing positions.
Wow, that's an amazing question. I had the privilege of working with amazing people, and I wish this is an international conversation in the sense that this is not for Israeli market. They're all very well known in our market, so I wish I could just say their names and have them get the credit that they deserve. But I work with amazing people, even in my legal experience, but later on with Eviatar Ben-Arzi from Darrow. Maya Huber was my CEO right now, and the co-founders, not just them. And I think that the thing that maybe, I think the most important thing as a marketer, especially as one that does early stage, is to allow you to be creative and to go just a little crazy. And if you have the back of your CEO and if you have the back of management, you can do really, really amazing things. And sometimes when you do early stage B2B, the deals are very big. The customers are usually, enterprise. You don't want to get a bad reputation. And so sometimes CEO are very scared. And they kind of like follow the marketers very, very closely, not allowing them to do their thing. And I was very fortunate to have people that just let me do my thing, let me grow, let me, reach the markets in creative ways, and got really good results there. So I was extremely fortunate.
It sounds like it, but I think you've also worked your way up there, and I think earned that trust. I think that's what, in my opinion, has been critical. Like for me at the moment, where I play a dual role in my current organization, having that trust from the CEO and the executive team as a chief of staff is super critical. And I think I fully kind of understand the challenges you might have faced, but also, the wins are just as sweet.
Totally agree with you. I think that you're spot on.
Now, maybe just going a little deeper into your B2B experience itself, right? Now, I think irrespective of where you are, B2B buyer journeys are no longer linear, right? They are hugely complex, and they usually involve multiple people today. So the idea then that a prospect moves neatly from awareness to consideration to conversation is probably not accurate anymore, right? Now, do you think probably that the traditional marketing funnel as we know it is kind of losing its purpose? And if you think so, what do you think is a better alternative to it?
Well, I wouldn't say losing its purpose. I feel like that's a bit extreme because I do feel that we need a structure to follow. You need to be able to, in your flexibility, you need to be able to make plans and you need to be able to know what happens in every stage, regardless of how the person got there. And so understanding the funnel, understanding what happens when your lead meets, what content, what are the things that you're going to do, how you approach it, I think that's really important. So I still stick to the funnel, to the original funnel when I build my marketing plans. And I make the research for every step of that funnel, and I build and I kind of like try to wrap the lead with marketing. But it is very, very important to be flexible and especially when you're an early stage startup and you're really getting to know your audience as you go along. And so you have a lot of thoughts that are just theory, and you're really meeting the people for the first time and trying to understand what works and what doesn't work. So flexibility, being able to change your marketing plans as you go along, being able to get management on board when things changes is also really important. And it's not very easy because that means that your plans may be criticized. It needs this kind of like ability to stand before your CEO and tell them, listen, we made these plans, but things are working out just a little bit differently. So that goes back to what we said before about how to approach your CEO and your management and so on. So I believe in the funnel. I believe it's still relevant. I believe it helps us make plans in a very orderly way. And then it was a John Lennon that says, life is what happens to you when you were making plans or while you were making plans. And so just be flexible enough when you meet life.
Interesting. And is there one tactic that you often use to help get management buy-in on marketing ideas and strategies that you want to experiment with?
I think marketing is changing. And I think that marketing needs to get more involved or is getting more involved, whether we want to or not. We are expected to not just bring in leads anymore and to stay focused on top of the funnel, but we're expected, or at least in my world, we're expected to bring in, I'd say, meetings, demos, to really carry the whole deal until very late or later stages than we used to. And so there's something that is really, it's quite stressing for us, and it's very different from the way things used to be for marketers, I think, but it also helps build trust. And I think that, like anything else, trust is the thing that gets things going, that gets processes moving fast. And when I show my CEOs that I'm there with them along the process, and it's very high touch at the beginning. When you just start a company, you're building your go-to market, you're trying to understand what works and what doesn't work. It's really me and my CEO working hand in hand, trying to make things happen. And so trust. They see that I'm there, and they see that I adjust to whatever they throw at me. And when I get impossible requests, like I do quite often in these worlds, we have this plan, but then my CEO comes to me and tells me, listen, this is August. We just relaunched the product. We pivoted like a minute ago. We need customers tomorrow morning. Try to make it happen. My job is to tell her, let me sleep on it. I'll come back tomorrow and I'll find something. And it may not be the best way to, it's not a long-term plan, but at the beginning, when you need to be fast and to move fast, it's the best way to create this team between you and the CEO to understand that you're both on the same side and to get results really fast. And so trust, being there, with this message that says, I'm here for you and I'm going to make it work. And you're the founder and I'm doing the marketing. But as far as I'm concerned, the success of this company is on both of our shoulders. And let's do it together. And when I come in with that, then they give me the place I need to, be creative, go crazy, do crazy things, and have fun.
And I think that's a great segue into something I want to talk to you about, which is brand building. I think that's one of your fortes as well. Speaking of trust and building trust, I think much has been said and written about the need of consistency when you're building a brand in B2C, right? With brand assets, tone of voice, and what have you. But maybe looking at it from a B2B lens, specifically in organizations that need to speak with at least 5 or 6 different people before a single sale can happen. How do you normally craft a tone of voice that works from all the different angles?
Oh, I was really scared of that question, because I think I have a bit of a different. I'm afraid of my fellow marketers that will be mad at this answer. But I believe that at the very beginning, when you're just getting started, and you don't really know, you're not Nike yet, right? So you don't know what works very much. I'm very flexible with the brand. I do not maintain tone and voice and stuff like that. So I do like, we do have our visuals and we do know how the brand looks like, but I talk. Well, we try to be ourselves. Again, this is at the beginning, at least for now. So let's say in TaTiO right now, it's me and Maya. Maya is my CEO. It's the both of us. We're doing this together. It's our battle. We're the people talking. We need to move extremely, extremely, extremely fast. So there's no time to get this through design. There's no design. We're doing everything ourselves right now. So there's no time to, get everything perfect. And so we decided very early on that we're saying goodbye to perfect and we're getting things done. And in order to get things done, we are the people talking. So the tone and voice is our tone and voice, the way that we sound at this stage. When I worked at later stages company, and the brand was a bit more developed, then we had guidelines. We knew how things were supposed to look like. We understood what were the messages that we would use and what we would not use. But for the very early stage, the very early days, the brand is going to sound like us. So we could move really, really fast. So we could launch campaigns in days. And we don't need to go through a lot of steps to get it done. So sorry for that answer. I'm not sure that everybody's going to like it, but that's how we move really fast. And we move really, really fast.
So maybe, Shiri, just to double down on that, in your opinion, what are some mistakes that you see brands making in this whole exercise to build brand equity?
Well, again, it really depends on the stage. I feel like, generally speaking, and not just when it comes to brand, but I feel like there is this aspiration, which is good, but trying to aspire to perfection prevents brands from moving. And when you're at the very beginning, which again is my expertise, moving is the most important thing. Moving fast, making mistakes, and then moving on from those mistakes as fast as you can. That's a lot more important than speaking in this one very clear, very coherent voice and all of that. So I would just understand generally what I want, how I want my brand to sound like, how I want things to look like, have a clear notion of that, but put all of my focus on moving fast. Especially when you're at the beginning, people don't pay attention yet. They don't have as much, they don't really pay attention to the way that you sound. Nobody's going to say, oh, this campaign is just, it looks a bit different than what you did before. I don't know. I don't recognize it as TaTiO because nobody knows me yet. So had I had a big team, endless funds, and I could do this, the way that it should be done by the book, then maybe I'd choose differently. But that's not the reality of most startups. So I choose reality every day, and not nicely crafted playbooks.
Interesting. And maybe I just want to like double tap on something you said a couple of minutes ago, because you have, expertise in helping early stage companies grow and scale. I am curious to hear your take on how do you go about curating the right marketing team for an early stage company? And there's maybe a second follow-up question to that is, who is possibly the first marketing hire you would make?
Oh, wow. Well, I'd go with, I think, with my biggest mistake, and then take it from there. I think that personality is the first thing, because if you hire an unbelievable talent, but you spend a lot of time, handling their toxic personality, then that destroys team, really destroys team. And so I would pay attention to that. And I feel like sometimes when we fall in love with someone's abilities, we ignore red flags. And when we look at it, a few months later, we would probably say, listen, we knew. The interview, we had red flags during the interview. We had red flags during the first few weeks. People can't really hide their personalities very well. So personality is the first thing. But assuming that I have a reasonable person in front of me, I think there's the first hire, and the first hire would probably be this team marketer, this someone that can do quite a lot of things at the beginning. Because again, when you're in my stage, you want to be able to move fast. So, and someone that can just do, I don't know, SEO, for instance, is not enough. That is not the right way to go when you're later in your company life. But at the beginning, that's what you need. You need someone that helps you move really, really fast. So I think that's the first thing. For B2B, again, early stage, I would also take someone, again, this goes back to the person they are, but there are these kinds of people that say no first, and there are the kinds of people that say yes first. And so if I come to my team and I tell them, listen, I have this thing that I need to get to. Maya, my CEO, told me that we need to get clients as fast as we can. We hardly have any budget. There is a conference happening in 3 weeks. We're not prepared. What do we do? I need someone that tells me, okay, let's get it done. Let's solve this. Someone that, that is willing to experiment and to do things, and not someone that tells me, listen, marketing takes time. That's not how we do it. I don't think it can be done. We had a plan. This is not a part of the plan. I need someone that can say yes. So again, it goes back to the personality. And also someone that's not scared of these kinds of situations, a creative thinker. I think that when you have that combined with basic understanding of human behavior, and I fear that a lot of marketers don't have that, understanding what's going on, why is this happening? When you have those things, you can teach quite a lot, and you can move, first of all, it's not rocket science. Second of all, things are moving so fast as is that the knowledge I had 2 years ago is, except for human understanding, is almost obsolete. I mean, things are just changing so fast. And so if you have someone that has, those basic personality traits, you can move really fast. Oh, and one more thing, sorry. Someone that's not in love with their opinions, because I feel like a lot of what it takes to be a marketer is to be able to say goodbye to your theories and to your ideas and to your beliefs, as they constantly meet feedback. And when feedback tells you, listen, your hunch was wrong, or this amazing project that you worked on doesn't deliver, being able to say, okay, it doesn't work, let's go on, let's move on to the next thing. That is really difficult for a lot of people. And I think that most people outside of the context of marketing would insist. And well, founders are like that, right? You have this company, you have this idea, and the whole thing is about persisting until you find a way in. But for marketers, I feel like being able to let go, to look at the data, to understand that you have to make data-driven decisions, and that sometimes the data does not tell you what you wanted to say, and still need to be able to, let go of what you thought and move on.
Now, growth hacking, as we know it today, is also one of your expertise areas. But growth hacking also needs an attitude of rapid experimentation, feedback, optimization, right? Now, looking at a bigger picture of growth strategies in general, how do you normally prioritize tactics to ensure a more cohesive approach in your marketing? Maybe if you could, talk me through a specific case, perhaps, where some sort of sequencing has helped you in achieving measurable growth for the business that you were part of.
It really, well, it depends on the company. When you have a big team, as I had in the former company I worked for, it's a completely different thing than doing it with a small team as we do now. But in the end, for me, we start with going crazy. We get in a room. Again, I'm just going to clarify the context here. We're a small startup right now, low budgets, and we need to get things done in almost impossible circumstances. Marketing takes time, marketing takes money. I have neither. And so for me, it's about trying to understand how to hack it, how to get creative, and how to get results fast, and how to shorten the sales cycle, which for me, for the companies that I work with, is usually quite long. And so that's also about trust. And so we have these impossible circumstances, and then we get in a room and we say, how do we make the impossible possible? And then we do follow playbooks, but we try to understand how to work with those playbooks and adjust them accordingly. And so, for instance, one of the things that we've done recently and worked really, really well is ABM, is to take this idea of ABM, and I call it ABM Light, and try to adjust it to, because ABM is heavy. It's extremely heavy, heavy strategy. It takes not very small team. I wouldn't say huge teams, but usually more than 2 people to make it happen. It takes money, it takes time, and it's all about the details for ABM, and about the feedback that you get, and about data, and about, it's quite complicated to do it right. And so we took that and we understood that ABM is what we want to do, because it does shorten sales cycles quite a bit, which is what we needed. We had an idea of how we wanted it to look like, and we felt that given all of our limitations of budget and everything, we needed this was a good strategy for us. The problem was that ABM is, again, quite costly. So it's about sitting in a room and saying, okay, ABM, we like ABM. Perfect ABM strategy would look like this. This is best case scenario. Had I had money, had I had time, had I had people, had I had everything that I needed, what can I do? And that's really how we work. And for startups, a lot of time that's what you get. You can't do it perfectly. You're never going to have the budget that the big companies have. The playbooks that you see out there are usually playbooks that are written by the big companies about their, big strategies and amazing successes. And most of those are not relevant for my stage. And so how do you get it done anyway? And getting into a room, assuming that it can be done, but now let's hack it. Let's figure out the way to do it. And once we do, follow the playbook. So there is a playbook. We do understand that a plan needs to be in order, and that there is a lot of experience in those playbooks that we want to, tap into. We don't want to make all of the mistakes ourselves and write a whole new playbook. But it's just about making the adjustments and making it so we can work with it. So we did the ABM, and what we did was we used Amazon gifts instead of those really beautiful gifts. And I do have to say, we made a ton of mistakes, a ton of embarrassing mistakes that I'm just like, that it's really painful to admit, and we laugh at today because it ended up being so successful. But had it not, I would probably, I don't know, I would probably be crying right now. But for instance, we sent out 40 packages, our first ABM, and none of them survived the delivery. They had like glass items in them, and we did them in-house because we wanted to save a bit of money, and they just didn't survive the delivery. We didn't know how to do it well enough, how to wrap the whole thing. And it was very painful. We were not laughing then. when we understood the mistakes that we made. We are laughing today, but so after that, we started working with Amazon. We couldn't afford the very nicely, neatly packed packages that you can do today, with companies that's their expertise, that everything's branded and beautiful. And, again, that's talking about the brand. Everything is in the same exact voice and the language, and everything has your logo on it and everything. So none of that. Amazon packages with, I don't remember now, I think it's 230 characters that you can put in there, in those, like as a card that comes with the package. And that's what we did. And we just started sending postcards a few days before. So people will know that this weird Amazon gift that they're getting is not, I don't know, a bomb or this random thing. It's this campaign that I'm doing. And we followed that with this really long cadence of our SDR calling them, and emails, and sometimes also an email from my CEO. So it really depended on the people that we were sending it to. And it was a huge, huge, huge success. So basically, ABM playbook, taking that, adjusting it, and following the ground rules, but making it your own.
Maybe just wearing your legal hat for a moment, Shiri, because I'm curious about this. If you had to, say, cross-examine a growth tactic that was suggested by a team member in brainstorm meeting like this, what tough questions would you normally ask to dismantle the idea?
I like to start at the end. I think that everyone should start at the end. So we establish the numbers, what we want to get to, what our goal is, and then we go back from that. And so usually when somebody offers an idea, assuming that it's manageable, that you can actually do it, if you go back and you go from the end to the beginning, you see if it can actually work and if it doesn't. And if we take something serious, an offer that was made by one of the teammates really seriously, we really go into the details, because these sorts of things, for instance, the postcards, that's my favorite example because it's so easy. We said, okay, postcards, we need postcards, right? People get our packages, they don't understand what it is. Sometimes they throw it away. Sometimes they give it to our secretary. So let's send postcards. That's easy, right? No problem at all. So I have a friend in New York, and I called her and I said, listen, we need your help. Can you just pick up the postcards from the printers and deliver it? Easy, right? And that just turned out to be this hell of an operation, because she didn't have stamps. She needed to go to the post office. She needed to stand in line to get the stamps. And then we printed the postcards, but apparently you needed to also put the address on the postcard, and she needed to handwrite 300 addresses. And so next time we needed to print out the address. And then there was this whole thing of paying her, because as a company, you can't just give people money. There's this process that you have to go through. And so really just going through every step, understanding that you have everything that you need in each one of those steps in order to get it done, because if not, it's either going to be done badly or it's not gonna come to life. So those are our processes, but usually a lot of things just fall there when you really quickly try to understand what you need to do in order to get things done. But I do like to say that it is we do try to make it, how do I say that? Like, give place to all of the ideas. And what we've discovered is that today's crazy, insane idea that we're never not going to do is tomorrow's brilliant idea that how have we not thought of it? So we keep track of all of the crazy ideas. We come back to it every once in a while, and we understand that things change, and that sometimes so we never laugh at any idea. But I had someone tell me once, there's this really well-known, very talented marketer in Israel called Yam Regev. And I worked really closely with him. And we once had this brainstorming session, and I came to him with the results, and I told him, like, these are all the things that we thought of. What do you think? I'm not sure what's the right one to go with. And he just gave me this really nice way of looking at it. And he said, listen, there is a time for every crazy idea. Like, craziness we love. Craziness is great. Craziness a lot of times brings results. But there is this time when you're in the stage in your company life that you go to the highway in a bikini with a sign, because you're that desperate. Make sure that you don't do that too early on, because that kills brands. So again, going back to branding, that kills brands. So there is a time and a place for every crazy marketing idea. Just make sure that you choose the one that fits the stage that you're in. And when you're in the time when you have to go to a highway with your bikini holding a sign, we'll do that. But just, know your timing. Timing is everything.
But maybe looking at the more tactical side of growth hacking today, Shiri, what are some tools and methodologies that you often use today, or have used in the recent times, that have really helped you?
I think one of the challenges of being a marketer is that the world constantly changes. So unlike a lawyer, when you learn the basics, and when you learn law, that kind of it's what you need to know, and you get better and better at it all the time. With marketing, the world constantly changes. Strategies change. Things just things work that didn't work before. Things that worked before no longer work. And so I think that for growth, the most exciting part is to see what other people do all the time. That's how I get some of my ideas. I just make sure that I'm always informed about what's going on in the world of marketing and of growth hacking. And I learn so much from what other people do, and I kind of steal crazy, nice, genius ideas of other people. Again, playbooks that were already written, that we know that already work, and I just adjust them. So constantly staying in touch with the world, constantly learning, constantly growing, and knowing that you can never rest as a marketer. There is never this moment where you say, oh, I learned everything there is to learn. I am now, I'm a CMO now, and I don't need to learn anything anymore. That just doesn't happen. And I think that's very true for growth, because things constantly change, and also look at the data. You can't do anything without having very, very strong grip on the data, understanding exactly what's going on and what's happening, what's not. It's a lot of experimenting, and it's again moving really, really fast, knowing what works, what doesn't work, and then trying the next thing really fast.
I think you kind of really nailed that one, because I was reading an article recently which said it beautifully. I think to be able to be a successful growth marketeer or a growth hacker, you really have to start by cultivating that mindset first. And I think that's kind of what you are hinting at. Is there an underrated skill for a growth hacker today that you believe is like super understated, and it's surprising how it's not being valued enough?
I feel like growth hacking is really about trying different things, and so different people can bring very special new ideas to the table. And so I don't know how to answer that, because I don't have an image in my head. I know so many people, different skills, different abilities, who do this really, really well, just because they're different and they're able to look at a situation and find completely different ways of approaching it. The challenges of marketing, I think, and especially of marketing today, I feel like I thrive in them. Needing to be a part of the revenue team, truly being held accountable for all of the funnel, being expected to show up in later stages. I love that. I feel like it helps me, again, with my geekiness, to be there and to really understand what's going on. And as marketing becomes more and more about trust, and doing good brand work becomes more and more about trust, I feel like that's right. That's the best way to do marketing today. So I guess these things, and personally, my ability to know what I don't know, and what I need to let other people do for me, where I fail repeatedly. Again, I like to look at the data and to look at the results and to try to understand what happens. And sometimes the conclusion is, listen, you're no good in that. You should really not do that. again. Let someone else do those things. And so being able to look at myself in a critical way, and get to the necessary conclusions, I think.
No, that's very honest. Are there a couple of marketeers that you ardently follow today on LinkedIn, perhaps, or just online, because you love their work, you love the content they put out there? Are there a couple of names that you could throw?
Well, I actually don't. I do I follow a lot of marketing people, but I actually really enjoy following non-marketing people because I feel like that's where you learn the most of. Marketing people are gonna help you understand, like, I don't know, how to do email marketing better, or what's the right way to go about, I don't know, social media, SEO, whatever. Um, but for me, again, it's about trying to understand what works, what makes people really, interested. And following marketing people is just not the right way to go about it. So I follow people. I try to see who are the people, who are the brands, who do really good social work, for instance. So one of the brands that I love to follow the most on social media, on LinkedIn, which is a challenge. I feel like really few brands know how to do LinkedIn really well. It's, for instance, Gong are wonderful on LinkedIn, and even though it's quite a boring topic, you would say they're amazing at it, and I'm at awe at what they do. And so I like to find all of those different personas, all those different people, all those different influencers, and try to work, understand their process, understand what works for them, and then to just copy. Again, it's a written playbook that I just need to figure out. So that's how I go about it.
For sure. So we're here to the end of the conversation, Shiri. Any last closing thoughts that you want to leave out there?
Well, yeah, I think I have something that I do. Well, it's personal. It's what works personally for me. I don't know if it works for everyone. And also, again, I think that it's true for early stage companies. But if I don't have fun with my marketing, it doesn't work. I don't know why. What's the magic to it? Maybe I can think about it. But I feel like we forget to have fun. And so, for instance, we found out that when we come to conferences, for instance, with the purpose of having fun and not just, having sales conversations and the numbers, and, we're all really afraid about how is this going to turn out for us and everything. When we come to have fun, then it shows. And when it shows, it works. And when it works and people see that you enjoy your work, then the sales conversations are better, the demos are better, and if you are a marketer, as I try to be, that it takes part in all the steps of the funnel, then being there really and having fun is quite a big part of it. So I don't know how to make people have fun, but try to do it in your work because it makes a difference.